regards to the Jesuits, I got to educate about this. We're going to bring it all together. Remember, George Floyd killed in a very similar race ritual. And notice George Floyd's name. It's got that 43-119 in it, just like Civil War, right? 43-119. It's also got, well, there's so much to say about George Floyd's death, but his full name is where I want to go to. His full name is George Perry Floyd. And you might recall his baby mama was Roxy Washington, whose name is 201, just like George Perry Floyd. And you might recall right after he died, we got an interview in Minneapolis of a man named Lamar Ferguson, who supposedly was beat up by the same police, had his teeth knocked out. That was a story right after George Floyd, also from Minneapolis. He had Ferguson in the name, which reminds us of Michael Brown, which is another 201. So if you write out the Jesuit order, it equals 201. If you write out Order of Illuminati, it equals 201. The Order of Illuminati, its official title, was established by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt May 1st, 1776, just before this nation was established, July 4th, 1776. And the founder of the Jesuits is Ignatius of Loyola, whose name is 201. And by the way, his birth name, which I forget right now, is also 201, if you want to look that up. And we're in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, whose birth name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, which is 201. And he's the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, which has a name. It's called the Domus Sanctae Martyr. Let's see. I spelled it wrong. Domus Sanctae Martyr. There it is. Domus Sanctae Martyr. 201. And remember, he's Pope Francis. The Jesuits were originally created in Paris, France. The last French pope was the 201st pope. Okay? So coming back to George Perry Floyd. His killing was compared to the killing of Adama Traore, who was killed July 19th, 2016, the 201st day of the leap year in Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from. And from Adama Traore's killing to George Floyd's killing is exactly 201 weeks later. Now, after the George Floyd killing, from Adama Traore's killing to George Floyd's killing is exactly 201 weeks later. Now, after the 201st day of the leap year in Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from. And from Adama Traore's killing to George Floyd's killing is exactly 201 weeks later. Now, after the George Floyd killing, the only Confederate statue in D.C. was torn down on June 19th, 2020, a year to the day of them making it an official national holiday. And notice how the word Confederate is 201. Now, from the day, June 19th, to the Capitol insurrection, January 6th, where the flag flew, and that day can be written 6-1 like the American Civil War began in 1861, it was 201 days later, okay? Now, here's the other part of this. Timothy McVeigh, who was inspired by the Turner Diaries, which is about an insurrection in the Capitol where white supremacists take over the Capitol and blow up a federal building, he's who's blamed for blowing up the Oklahoma City building on April 19th, 95, and he's from the Buffalo area. And 2 days before, look how weird this is. 2 days before the Buffalo shooting, a play debuted in Buffalo about Timothy McVeigh blowing up the Oklahoma City building bombing. And look at what Benjamin Crump said when he came to town after the Buffalo shooting. He compared it to the April 19th, 95 Oklahoma City attack, okay? He compared the two events because these guys are on script. Just like Black Lives Matter's part of the script, Benjamin Crump's part of the script, they're all talking the same subliminals that all fit in with the Civil War history, the history of this nation, of racism and slavery, Jefferson, a slave owner, from William and Mary from Williamsburg, Virginia. And see how these people, they don't even realize how they're getting used and abused. They just go along with it because they're getting paid. If you saw the Black Lives Matter protester, he had a really nice car, you know. He's getting money from that Black Lives Matter, being the agent that he is, out there instigating, leaving the sign. Did you guys see his sign that he left? By the way, my sign got torn down that I left the day after I left. People in the community let me know they took it down, just about sharing knowledge and information. But they've left up Black Lives Matter sign, which says hate, hate. Hate, hate, really? Somebody says, what's wrong with that sign? Do you think that's going to solve the problem to bring more hate to the hate? Okay. So Timothy McVeigh in this 201 pattern. Look at the name Timothy McVeigh. 201. A military personnel file is called a 201 file. It contains all the information about you, your psychological profile, all that. Almost all these shooters are of military age, and the media gives us these backgrounds on them that probably aren't true. I wouldn't be surprised if every last one of these mass shooters and terrorists over the years have been part of this. And that's what I hate too, that you can't even speculate. They take it down for misinformation. Listen, we have to be able to speculate and put out what we think is going on to prove if it's true. It's just like when I first started this research, I wasn't sure if there was anything to gematria, but after documenting the same stuff over and over and over, day after day, I realized there was something very serious and sinister to it. But the government used to have a mind control program. They said they ended in the 70s, but did they really? Now notice, Timothy McVeigh is 201. His accomplice, Terry Lynn Nichols, is 201. The day that the building blew up, Richard Snell was put to death by the state. Richard Snell is 201, and the reason it matters that Richard Snell was put to death the day of the Oklahoma City bombing is because he was a white supremacist like Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh, again, this white supremacy thing, and he had been arrested in 1983 for trying to blow up the Oklahoma City building bombing. And they said all day before the building blew up that he was saying in his prison before they executed him that, watch, the federal building was going to blow up that day. He knew it. How did he know that? Why was he saying that over and over all day? God, what's the other guy's name? Robert G. No, it's Millar. And understand, it's not me putting that's how his name's written everywhere in the history books. Robert G. Millar. He's who ran the white supremacist camp in Arkansas. Remember, Bill Clinton was the governor at the time. He was the 42nd governor of Arkansas. Then he became the 42nd president. That's another big Jesuit number. They got certain numbers that are important to him. He's Jesuit educated at Georgetown. Andy went to Yale, where Skull and Bones is, just like Hillary. And again, Hillary opened the top store. The shooting happened on her 201st day of her age. Bill Clinton was the president when this popped off. And by the way, when the Oklahoma City building blew up, it was 243 days after Bill Clinton's birthday and exactly 117 weeks after he became president. Central Intelligence Agency 243-117, you see? And in the CIA's logo, and Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America, which is 201. And remember, it was established in history September 18th, 47, 201 days after the Pope's birthday, March 2nd, Pope Pius at the time. So, again, it's a long line of the same rituals all throughout history with the same Jesuit Masonic fingerprints all over it. The same, and understand that D.C. is the Jesuit Masonic city. The Jesuits have been in D.C. longer than the Feds have been there. It's known as the Masonic city. And, I'll tell you who got it. Sandy Bland's mom gets it. She wanted to come talk to me and give me a hug, and she did want to hang out later, but I was a little bit sketched out about it. And if you're out there and you're wondering why I didn't show up, in my same book, I don't mean to offend you, because she told me that she's joined the Nation of Islam. Had she not told me that, I probably would have met up with her. And if you're in the Nation of Islam, I don't necessarily have anything against you. It's just that I know at the end of the day, the Nation of Islam is also controlled by this same nefarious organization, and I didn't really want to tell Sandy Bland's mom that in case she doesn't know that. And but in the same book where I talk about her daughter's death, I talk about how easy it is to see that the Nation of Islam is controlled by the same entities. And she wanted to meet up, and she was there with, there were two nicely dressed men who were clearly in the Nation of Islam and her publicist. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to meet tonight at an undisclosed location with the Nation of Islam when I've written a book kind of exposing who's behind them. And anyway, so I had a little level of paranoia there, so I skipped that meeting. It could have been a great opportunity, but I'll tell you what Sandy Bland's mom said to me. She said, be careful out here. There's Judases all over. There's these people who are really behind this stuff. They want a race war. She said, don't trust Benjamin Crump. Don't trust Jesse Jackson. Don't trust Al Sharpton. She said they're all snakes. They're all vipers. They're all just they're all in it for themselves. So, I mean, what she came up and talked to me about, everything was 100% on point. And, she explained that her publicist team had her in town for that day, and to me, I didn't even bring it up to her because I didn't want her to get paranoid about her own life. Because I just met her. I've never met her before. I was surprised that she knew me. She was like in and out to meet me, and then they went off to get food. But again, the Texas mass shooting happened the day that they had her in town, making her appearances. And again, that's where her daughter died. And if you forget who her daughter was, Sandra Bland. Right here. Notice she was born on the 38th day of the year and dead on July 13th. And again, if you forget the story, she was pulled over for not signaling. And then, on the police officer's body cam or whatever it was, he captured the confrontation with her. And then he arrested her. And then she was found dead in her jail cell. And here's her mother. Her mother was not a member of the Nation of Islam when it happened. But so shout out to the Matrix and Fake Mike Real News, because after this happened to me and they invited me to meet with them that night, I passed the message on to since he's close by, just because a little bit sketched out about it to see what he thought. And then he passed it on to Fake Mike Real News, and then Fake Mike started doing research, and he said, dude, she's part of the Hillary Clinton Foundation. And again, this doesn't mean that, if you're out there, Mrs. Bland, or it looks like Reed Veal, actually, I'm sorry. But be careful, because this ritual at the tops is synced up with Hillary Clinton. So, yeah, when I found that out, I was like, I think I'm going to skip the undisclosed location meeting tonight. Nation of Islam probably doesn't like me too much, whether she realizes that or not, and I guarantee the Hillary Clinton Foundation does not.